The Flash? Was it the bomb? Or a bomb?
All right, in this video, we are doing a post-mortem on The Flash. We're going to give our general impressions, but then we're going to break it down to see if it deserved all of the critiques and just general
malfeasance.
Yes, that it has been getting. So, welcome to Eat Sleep Nerd. I am your dorky DJ, Corey Winter, and joining me in studio is my nerdy brother, Josh Winter, Jason Summer,
howdy,
and Christian James.
Hello.
So, this is our first video, all four of us in person, and it's an important one because we have been wanting to do a Flash review for months and months and months.
Yeah. I would say since we started the podcast, honestly, we've been waiting to do this.
Yeah, that's true.
And we didn't do one as soon as the movie came out. We all went to go see it the weekend it came out.
Yep.
But just some scheduling things got in the way. But now that we've kind of seen how critics have responded to it, how general audiences have responded to it.
How the world has received it.
Yes.
Like half the world, actually.
Yeah. We need to do a proper review, so we're going to start off there just to get our general impressions out there, just to lay the groundwork, and then we want to get into some questions and maybe some debates to see if we think the movie has gotten a fair shake or not. So,
okay, I think we can do that.
And I want to keep this open format, so open conversation.
Right.
Okay. So
now you call this a post-mortem.
Yes.
So this is also an after death kind of thing.
Oh God.
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
The movie has not been doing well. So let's just get into it because this movie was hyped up a lot before it came out.
For a decade.
Like the reports were coming out saying all the test screenings for it were
the highest ever for a DC film.
Yeah, and then people were coming out like Tom Cruise saying it was one of the best superhero movies ever made, if not one of the best movies ever made.
The film we need right now.
Yes, I love how you know all these quotes by heart. Yes. So, and you can debate whether or not he was maybe paid to say that, but that's a whole other discussion.
Debate, yes.
So, all of that to say, going into this movie, we thought it was going to be a landmark event in movies.
Talking like The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
It was a landmark, just one you pass by and don't read.
Okay. So signs of things to come in this conversation.
So all of that to say, I want to know across this table if you guys felt it lived up to that hype, and if not, how close did it get? And you know what, Jason, I want to start with you because I know you were hyping this up, especially because you were a Michael Keaton Batman fan and stuff like that. So how did you feel about this movie?
Okay.
A Beaton fan?
A Keaton fan. A Keaton
fan.
Beaton Keaton. A Batman.
I mean, we've got.
Did he say Beaton?
He said Beaton.
I mean, we've got like Batfleck and Robert Pattinson.
Gotcha. Right.
Oh, Beaton.
Do we have it?
Beaton.
That
just
is
doesn't.
there
I think
one
The
that
reason
works?
we've gotten 30 years into this without that acronym or whatever is because it doesn't work.
Oh, okay.
So
Bat Mike.
But I don't know. It kind of sounds right in my head. Beaton.
For this discussion.
Yeah,
Okay.
Beaton.
Yeah, I see what you're doing over there. Okay, so not to say there were parts of the movie that I didn't have significant problems with, and we'll talk about those later.
yes.
I absolutely enjoyed this movie. I thought it was a dose of fun and just vibrancy that DC has kind of been missing.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good movie to watch in the theaters. And I recommend that if you haven't gone to go see it, that you go see it. It's
While
worth
you
it.
still can.
While you still can. So that's my quick capsule review.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or it'll be streaming in like a week.
Right.
Who wants to go next?
$29.99.
I want to know what Christian said. Want things here. Because you are talking down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get out. No.
And he's a Beaton fan as well.
Yeah. I'm totally a Beaton fan.
Oh.
I like how that's just sticking.
Yeah, we're gonna make it a thing. Look for the T-shirt on eatsleepnerd.com.
Beaton. Michael Beaton. Yeah, but
Yep.
it's really hard to describe like what I mean, but really easy at the same time.
No, I think I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, because it's when people say that it's like a great watch, that's cool. I mean, it was fine, in a lot of aspects, it's a good movie, but the things that took me out of it just made it so hard to get through. Because like the whole beginning sequence, I was like, all right, let's just get this movie started. Let's get some stuff to happen so we can get past this scene. And
Are you talking about the baby shower?
yeah, the baby shower. Yeah. The baby shower.
Okay.
It was the right amount of ridiculous that didn't hit for me. And
So it was the wrong amount of ridiculousness.
yes, the wrong.
Thank you.
The wrong amount. The
I
right
hit
way.
the microphone. Okay.
Yeah, so it's I don't know. We'll talk about it some
Yes.
All right. Since I'm not sure which way Josh is leaning, I'm going to go next. Because I want to
So keep that mystery
I want to
going.
save the mystery
Right.
for a little bit.
I'm going to give purposely conflicting comments.
So, I thought it was perhaps one of the best superhero movies of all time.
Wow.
Because I thought it kind of hit all the marks that you would want, because it didn't really rely too heavily on the action. Like, obviously there was the third act action scene where he partners up with Michael Keaton's Batman and Supergirl and stuff. But aside from that, there wasn't a lot of action because it really focused heavily on the story of him dealing with the loss of his mom and wanting to save his mom. And I think that kind of leads into my next point, where it was a movie that didn't let the superhero win. Because not only could he not save them, spoilers.
Spoilers. Do
Red
the
alert.
thing.
Red alert, spoilers.
things, okay.
Spoilers.
Red lightning spoilers.
Because not only
Yeah.
could he not save his mom, he also couldn't save the universe he was trying to save. And then when he got back to what he thought was his universe, he also realized he had broken his own universe, or he was put into another universe that he thought was his own. So at no point did he actually win in this movie.
Right.
Which
Because he could not resist giving in to some degree of changing history.
Yeah.
Because he'd changed something slightly at the end of the correct timeline, and it did change history.
Yeah.
His timeline. So he couldn't resist it.
Yeah. And so like going back to Avengers Infinity War, that's what made that movie so unique at that time, was because for the first time ever, the heroes didn't win. And so I really liked that about this movie. And aside from that, I thought it balanced all of the comedy really well. There was some aspects of that I did not enjoy, which we'll get to in a little bit. But also, I thought most of the cameos were good. There were a couple of that kind of got in the way for me. And then I thought the acting was great. I thought the use of Michael Keaton's Batman surprisingly worked really well for me. So all over this movie, I thought it was perfectly balanced. I thought it was exactly the movie I wanted it to be.
You have a dark side. I was just thinking like all that dark nitty gritty part of Secret Invasion. You're like, I loved it, and then you're like, the good guys didn't win. I loved it. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, Corey.
Well, because
okay.
with those kind of stories, you know how it's going to end.
Right.
But in this case, you didn't necessarily know how it was going to end, because you would
True.
assume going into it, oh, he's going to find a way to save his mom, or at least save the universe you were trying to save.
Right.
Like,
Or-
spoilers yet again, he didn't even get to save Michael Keaton's Batman and Supergirl. They both died. Like,
repeatedly.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I love that. I love that it was unique, and I thought it should have gotten a lot better scores critically and on the fan side of things. So
I thought we were going to talk about that later.
yeah, we are.
Okay.
That was just
Okay. I didn't want to jump the gun, but it's your podcast.
Josh.
Yeah, Josh.
I thought it was an exceptionally well-made fan film. Like, that's the best way I can put it. So I had fun. It was a fun movie. It was entertaining. I had a good time. There were a lot of things that the longer I thought about it didn't sit well with me. The special effects, things like that. Yeah, some of them didn't look great. That's par for the course. I don't. Not everything is going to look amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's fine. I don't really care. I did not like, and I have never liked. This goes all the way back to Batman versus Superman. I have never liked Ezra Miller as the Flash. Even before Ezra Miller did all the Ezra Miller things that Ezra Miller has Ezra Millered. That's just, it doesn't strike me as Barry Allen.
Okay.
I thought that was just poor casting.
Okay.
And for Zack Snyder, who I generally feel knocked it out of the park with his casting, it just felt weird.
Okay.
And I've never liked it. And now that we've gotten a full movie of 2 Flashes, I definitely don't like it. And so, like, to me, that was much more of a Wally West sort of character, who was the Flash for a long time, for over a decade in the comics, after Barry Allen was not the Flash. But it was just, from a character standpoint, I didn't like it.
Okay.
But also, I don't know, the tone was a lot more lighthearted, but at the same time, the themes that they were dealing with were very much at odds with that, and it didn't always mesh well.
See, I wouldn't agree that it was lighthearted.
Okay, let me use a different word. Hokey. A lot of it was hokey. All right.
I don't like your word choices.
And so
Choiceage.
Choices.
So yeah.
Usage.
But no, back to the fan film thing. Just so much of the movie, a huge portion of the movie was mostly meant to be fan service. And there's nothing wrong with that. And if there's ever going to be a movie that you're going to do it on, it should be the movie that essentially destroys the universe, because you're going to reboot it anyway. Who gives a crap? But so much of it, especially towards the end, just started feeling needless and over the top. And then on top of that, getting into the real world aspects of it, especially thinking of like the cameos that were chosen and the cameos that were missing.
Yeah,
Were
that's going to be a
weird.
big talking
That's
point.
the stuff I wanted to talk. That
Were
was like
weird. And
upset
again,
about.
and we're obviously we're going to break that down in a minute.
Yes.
But
Yes.
like
yeah.
as far as overall impressions, it was an okay Christmas present that was wrapped up with a lot of fanfare. I think they made a huge mistake trying to hype it up as one of the greatest superhero films of all time. I would have taken it the exact opposite way. Trailers that make you ask a lot of questions,
Very much so.
don't tell you anything, give you like one money shot of Keaton right at the end coming out as Batman, but don't show anything else about his Batman. Oh man, how much is he even going to be in there? And then you watch the movie, it's like, oh dang, he's in like 60% of the movie. Like they made some mistakes with the marketing, especially since clearly it's been proven that the marketing did nothing to increase revenue.
Yeah.
So overall capsule review.
Let's go in. You know what? Let's go ahead and do scores.
Okay.
Personal scores, and we'll use that to paint the rest of the conversation. So, I'm gonna give it a 5.
Okay.
I thought it was great.
That's a 55, by the way.
Woo! 55. No, it's a 5. I'm giving it a 5.
55.
55.
55. Yes. Yes,
Like
I'm
aside
current.
from just some nitpicky things, and a couple of the cameos that, like Josh was saying, could have been balanced a little bit better. I thought it was great. I didn't have any complaints.
And it's okay that you think that.
I would also say that nitpick is kind of a
See, and that's what I was
strong
going to say. I
thing.
think that's where we differ.
Yes.
Is that to you it was a nitpick. To me, it was a pretty big effing deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
And we'll get
pretty
get
big demotion on that
BFD.
side.
Yeah.
BFD. Okay.
All right, let's go. Let's just go around the table. So, Josh.
I'm going to give it a very complicated 3 out of 5.
Complicated.
Okay.
Because there were parts I adored and parts I would
Oh,
have
I like
set
how
on
it's
fire.
color coded. Like red is anything
yeah,
below
man, I'm a
what?
spreadsheet expert.
What like red is what below
It's
a 4?
actually color coded based on the person. So for Josh, a 3 is actually relatively low for him.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
Grades on a curve
I see. Okay.
for each person.
All right, Jason.
All right. So I had fun with this movie. I really enjoyed it, and I highly recommend it. However, I am also true to my word about rating movies as accurately as I can. I'm going to give this a 3.75.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
You guys just have no soul. Christian.
Yeah, my soul left a long time ago.
Oh, God.
Man, it was one of those things like you really just wanted to like it because it's been so long since it was supposed to come out.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. I hate that song.
Good
But-
job singing it, though.
There's like a lot of things that are not just nitpicks. There's just a lot of things I just can't forgive, and surprisingly, the CG is not one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think it was the
we'll get
dumpster
to
fire.
that. We'll
but
get-
yeah.
We'll get to
Yeah.
that. But amongst other things, this is probably sounding generous from what I've been talking about, but I'll give it a 3.
Okay. All right. So you guys are mostly on the same page. So we have a pretty big spread there. So from 3s to all the way to 5. So as a team,
One of these things is not like the other.
as a team, Eat Sleep Nerd is giving The Flash a 3.69 out of 5, which surprisingly
It's like a 7.4 out of 10.
is actually, well, I don't know why you always put it on the 10-point scale, but we do it 5. But no, that actually puts it on par with the Rotten Tomatoes
Which
scores.
is about 70%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So funny how that works out. So
Averages.
So it's accurate. Accurate.
So
yes,
that's
maybe,
fun. That's
right.
interesting. That's actually a little bit of a surprise to me. But so those are our impressions. Now, before we actually get into just how it's performed, let's get into some of those critique things. So CGI kept coming up.
Yeah.
That's been a big.
I've been wanting to say something specifically about this.
Okay.
Since the thing. Okay. And I know Josh knows exactly what I'm going to say because he's mimicked it, what I'm going to say before, which is
I don't know.
you don't have to, okay, all right.
It's a big movie, man.
Okay. It's all right. If you you also viewed the movie differently than I did. Okay. As long as you have a good story and good acting, you can
the effects
forgive
don't matter.
anything.
Yeah.
All right. So back to my personal example that I always use is The Princess Bride. All right. The sets you could tell are sets. The music was played on a synthesizer. You can tell that it's synthesized music. It's hokey music, but the acting and the story is spectacular, and it is a cult classic. Same thing when it comes to the CGI and the graphics with this. I can forgive that because to me, the acting was good, the story was good. Like, for example, the baby shower, which is one of the things that a lot of critics are pointing out is how hokey that CGI looked. Yeah, it did. But it was also not about that actual scene. What it was about was it was giving an introduction to the Flash.
Yeah.
It was introducing how his powers work, the different ways it works, how he is as a person. It really wasn't so much about the event. It was about how he handled the event. So I was actually really okay with it. And overall, I completely forgive the CGI on this. Like, it did not take me out of the movie in any way. And in fact, when he was in the cosmic treadmill, in the time dilation area, I liked the choice that they used for their computer graphics.
It was supposed to look surreal.
Yeah, and it looked surreal and like paper mache like or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it worked for me and I liked it. So for me, the CGI was not a problem.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I did not have any problems with the CGI. Yeah. There was even the baby scene. I didn't really even notice the bad CGI. The only time I actually noticed the CGI being below par was actually a part that might not have even been CGI. It was actually just in the final battle where Barry looked kind of fake. I'm just like, that's a weird place for them to use a CGI Barry, but maybe that was just weird lighting. But
could have been weird compositing.
Yeah. But no, like, this movie is getting a lot of hate for the CGI, and I'm just like, that's what you guys are focusing on?
See, and I don't.
Not you guys.
No.
Dang it, Christian.
Like,
Jump right at me.
yeah, of all of my things that I had a problem with, the CGI was not one of them.
Yeah.
It's like I said, I've gotten to the point.
All the things.
There's articles upon articles, exposés upon exposés about all these effects houses that are completely overwhelmed. They're being given unreasonable deadlines. They're having to redo their work 8 or 9 times because the studio keeps changing what happens in the movie. So, like, to me, it's par for the course. If they're going to be under that much crunch, not every single thing is going to look spectacular.
Yeah.
My issues were not related to the CGI, with one exception. If you're going to bring people back from the dead for a cameo, it needs to look a little better than that. Especially, and perhaps even more so, when that person is not even dead yet.
See, that's one thing.
Not dead yet.
That's a dumb thing that they did. Well, what is her name? The Supergirl.
Yeah.
I can never remember her name, but she
Yeah,
was.
you say
she
it all.
was-
I'll be like, yep, that's it.
Yeah. She's still alive.
Yeah, the OG Supergirl, not Sasha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can never remember her name, but I'm like, if you said it,
yeah.
I'd be like, she was Supergirl.
Yep.
Yeah.
back in the 70s.
You'll have to hit all cast. Go scroll back
And
up.
It's going to take too long.
Okay.
Forget it.
She might not even be in the cast.
No,
Yeah,
so
she
yeah,
was in
we're
effect.
getting
Yeah.
we're getting into the cameos. So there were several, and yet again, spoilers.
Spoilers.
Red alert.
Right.
There were. Let's just see if we can name them off. Gal Gadot. I wouldn't consider Ben Affleck and Alfred.
Because we knew they were going to be
Yeah, we knew they were going to be in there.
Yeah.
So really, Gal Gadot.
Actually, I would say Alfred. I did not know Alfred was going to be in it.
I feel like I did.
I wasn't
Assumed,
surprised.
maybe I just
Yeah, I wouldn't
assumed
have-
since
I
Ben
was
Affleck
surprised
that he
be
was
there.
going to be in it.
I was surprised when he
we'll
was
say
in it.
Alfred.
Yeah.
We'll say Jeremy Irons.
Give me Alfred. I didn't know
Okay,
Alfred
we'll
was
give
going
you
to be in
Alfred.
there. Yeah.
And is it Gal Gadot? I was thinking, like, I've heard people talk, and sorry,
I think it's Gadot.
Yeah, I was gonna say I know the T is a hard T.
Right.
For a long time we were doing it like with a French thing.
right,
Gadot.
Gadot,
Yeah.
right,
But
Gal, Wonder Woman. All right.
old gal.
So Wonder
Yeah.
Woman.
right.
Obviously Christopher Reeve, Nicolas Cage, Supergirl, like old Supergirl, and then
George Reeves,
George Reeves.
Adam West,
Adam West.
Jason Momoa,
Yeah,
Nick
and
Cage.
then George
Nick
Clooney.
Cage.
I already said
Nicolas
Nick Cage.
Oh.
yeah.
George Clooney.
Yeah,
so I got
9.
10.
I got 9.
Um,
I think you count someone twice. But yeah, so lots of cameos. Some of them a little bit meatier than others. So starting with Gal.
There was another Flash character.
Yes.
what's his face playing Jay
Garrett.
Oh, Jay
Garrett,
Garrett. Yeah, that's
The Justice Society Flash.
Correct.
Yeah.
So yeah, starting with Gal Gadot's. Hers didn't bother me. The only part that bothered me about hers was the lasso of truth. That was just a little too corny.
Well, they keep making that joke.
Yeah.
It's like
It was in the
is it a
original
running
Justice
gag
League.
at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, like it was in the Justice League.
I don't know.
Let's give it up.
But honestly, that one actually fit really well for me because
landed okay.
Because
I
like
didn't
it was already like
hate
a
it.
Justice League gathering because Batman and Flash are getting together. It makes sense for another one to show up.
Yeah.
So I liked hers. I wish she'd been around longer.
I was
but-
gonna say, Gal is making a killing showing up for 10 seconds in movies these days.
Sort of showing up because like Shazam, she probably was just like a composite in. She had a body double.
She 100%
Yeah, she did.
was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she was.
like that was
So
confirmed. She was filmed separately.
really-
Yeah, yeah. She didn't even have to go there.
yeah.
Like she teleworked. Yeah.
she did it remote.
No, okay. So since we're talking about the cameos, it's. I have problems on both sides of the fence. I have problems with who they used and who they didn't use.
Right.
So yeah, I
Yes.
want to get into the next set. So it's the big ones in the middle of the movie with Christopher Reeve and whoever played Supergirl because we can't remember,
We're so sorry, hon. You did.
and then obviously Nick Cage.
Right.
So, how do you guys feel about? Let's just start with Christopher Reeve. How did you guys feel about the use of him?
Okay, so this is what I wanted to bring up in the CG thing. Why? Why can we take like old footage of
Yeah.
him and then put it in the movie?
Had to have hundreds of hours of footage of him.
He
in
was
the suit.
Superman for a while. He had some posing, like look surrounds in footage before. It didn't have to like put him on a dummy.
Yeah. So my problem isn't even how they looked, which wasn't great.
great,
it
but,
was
yeah.
okay. It was serviceable. It'll probably look better by the time the DVD comes out.
Yeah.
My issue is much more philosophical, and it gets into whether or not these actors would have wanted to have been in this movie, specifically with the Superman. George Reeves killed himself over the role of Superman.
That's still debated.
I mean, literally, one of the last conversations he had was that he regretted ever having done that. Like,
Right, but it
and then that he couldn't get work because all people saw was Superman. So I mean, debatable. But point is,
it was a
she
bone of
clearly had
contention.
huge,
Yes.
clearly had huge regrets over being Superman. Christopher Reeves, one of the last interviews he gave was that he felt like sequelitis was done to death. He may have actually been the person who coined sequelitis. Adam West, I think, would have been okay with it. He loved that he was Batman. I think that was fine. But I don't know. It's just, obviously these are not the first characters that have been recreated with CGI. But as far as I know, this is one of the first times where they were recreating characters that maybe they might not have wanted
Okay.
recreated.
So your issue with those two specifically is a philosophical thing.
Correct.
So mine
But then
is-
on top of that, it didn't look good.
Okay, so there's that. So my issue with those two cameos, and those two cameos I'm referring specifically to Christopher Reeve and Nicolas Cage, my issue with those two is that, well, really two issues. The first is that, okay, we got these two actors, one of which was dead, one of which had never actually played this character, when there were so many other characters that are still, or actors that are still living that have actually played this character. Why weren't, Henry Cavill, obviously the big one. So why weren't
I got a whole rant about that in a second.
the man that plays him on Superman and Lois?
Yeah.
Why was he not
Tyler
in there?
Hoche.
Yes, that sounds
yeah, I
correct.
can never say his name. Yeah.
So like you had all these actual actors.
Obviously,
that,
Dean Cain.
Yeah, Dean Cain.
Yeah.
Yeah. What dude from Smallville?
Smallville.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So having said that, and I hate it that I made this mental conclusion. I hate it because it actually works in the movie's favor. Okay. I was angry that they didn't use Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
And in that cameo section, I was angry because I was like, of all the people, that was like a big middle finger.
I think I know what you're gonna say. Contextually, makes sense.
He was the Superman in that universe.
Yeah.
In the main universe.
Yeah.
It made sense not to use him in that. But they should have used him
At
more.
the same time, they should have done
They
it.
should have at least. I mean, if they were going to rewrite,
There
There were
rewrite
scenes
the DC,
filmed. Yeah.
if they were going to rewrite DC, let him have his last freaking few shots, and then I mean, if they changed up Batman, why
Apparently
not change,
several times.
Several times.
Yeah.
So why not just change up Superman at the end? That's fine.
Yeah. So
But
two things with
anyway.
that is that we know that Henry Cavill shot
Yeah.
some kind of scene for this movie. It was just cut because we know that he actually got paid
Right.
for it.
Yeah.
The second thing is that there was a scene early in the movie where it showed Superman on television fighting something. That's why he
A
couldn't
volcano.
be
He
there.
was cleaning up a volcano
he-
thing.
Yeah, so like-
Technically cameoed.
And
Yeah.
they did show the fight scene between him and
Yeah, he had his
when he was doing
Yeah.
his but that was more of a
It was
callback.
archival. Yeah.
Or
it was-
yeah, exactly. So anyway, I mean, so it made sense that he wasn't one of the cameos as we're talking about it just now, but still,
So yeah, like just going back, like so
I also feel like we didn't have a lot of logic applied to the other cameos, though.
that.
Yeah.
yeah.
So ruling him out because of logic.
Yes.
If we're
Right.
gonna fan serve, let's
Yeah.
fan serve.
And Nicolas
Like-
Cage, I'm sorry, came out of nowhere.
Nope. Nicolas Cage was the best.
No,
cameo in the movie.
He came out of nowhere.
1,000%.
Nobody,
No.
unless you know Superman lore.
But if you do,
Unless-
it was perfect.
but it's
It's
like
only because he had the test footage. That's
Right.
it.
That's it.
He wasn't Superman.
they were ready to film that movie,
but they didn't.
but it's so cool.
If you're gonna but they had filmed Henry Cavill.
It was so cool. They did the long hair. It looked like him right when he would have shot that movie. They even had him fighting the giant spider because
Which
that's
Joel
what the
Schumacher
producer
wanted him to do. Yes.
Yes, like it's. I don't think it was Joel Schumacher, but
Kevin Smith.
Kevin
wrote that movie,
Smith.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
But Joel
Kevin
Schumacher
Smith
was
wrote
the
that
producer.
movie. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he was the producer, but
Yeah.
he wasn't the one that demanded the spider. I don't think.
No, he was because he ended up doing the Spider in Wild Wild West.
Wild Wild West. That's
Yes.
right. Okay, so apologies, but the point is though,
All right.
so many deep cuts, and it's like if you don't know, yeah, you're just like, what the
Right,
heck
and
is
that's what I'm
Nicolas
saying.
Cage
It's
doing?
And also,
it's
how
so
many people
fringe.
know?
Because it's multiverse, and somewhere there's a universe where that movie happened.
And somewhere there's a multiverse where Henry Cavill gets to say freaking Superman.
But in this universe, he was killed as a baby.
Right?
The
Do you remember
infant
when we
side came
talked about
through.
that? Oh my god! I remember talking about that.
If I can find whatever episode that was, we covered that story.
We did, and
We were
I
like,
said,
"There's
they
no
better not.
way."
They're not going to do that.
Yeah, way back in this podcast. It was months ago at this point, maybe even last year.
It was like early, yeah.
There was a story that came out, and it was so weird to believe it at the time that the plot was going to involve General Zod going back in time and committing infanticide. We had a whole conversation about infanticide.
Right. We're like, no, they would never do that.
They freaking did it.
Well.
Not only did it, he actually said word for word that he did it.
The infant did not survive.
I will say, he did look upset about it. I will say that. Like that was like he wasn't like happy about it. He was like he didn't make it.
Maybe he was just unhappy because that wasn't the baby that he needed to kill.
Wait, yeah.
You are also dark.
Well, no, I mean, it literally wasn't, because clearly in this universe,
Right. It was
Supergirl is carrying,
had it, right.
is carrying
The
the,
blood.
genetic code for
yes. The Codex
For
or whatever.
the Codex, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So let's get back to the cameos.
No, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
My bad.
So Henry Cavill was missing.
Yeah. So
Yes.
okay. So finishing up my pain points with it, it just felt weird in that scene to where there was only 2 Superman cameos. It just felt like a weird number. Like, why not give me 3? Who was the third one?
George Reeves.
See, I don't even remember that one.
That in the
It
black
was
and
for
white.
like 2 seconds. Yeah, he was the black and
Yeah,
white one. He was technically the first. Well,
He was the first TV Superman.
yeah, he was the first TV Superman. There was one more before him that literally no one ever remembers. But
But they really emphasized the Christopher Reeves
back
and
before the Talkies.
Nicolas Cage ones, because those are the only 2 I actually remember.
Well,
So
those were the only ones in color.
well, they were the shocking ones.
Yeah.
Um,
So anyway, it just weird. Like
So-
it felt unbalanced.
So there is one more, and again, it just comes back to, I feel like just as human beings, we didn't do a good job, and it was with the Jay Garrick one, because that actor has been all over the Flash, the TV series. He plays both that character in the Flash as well as Barry
Barry's
Allen's
dad.
dad.
Right.
And he said he didn't know he was in the movie.
Really? I didn't know that.
So
His friends were coming up to him and being like, dude, we saw you in the movie. And he was just like, I'm not in that movie.
so the studio has confirmed it wasn't actually him. It was just an
A
uncanny.
striking resemblance?
Yeah, they're saying it was an uncanny lookalike. You know, it's not. It was
Well,
not.
every one of those cameos was an uncanny lookalike. So that might be a little bit of a cop out.
And again, to cameos that were missed, Grant
Grant
Gustin.
Austin.
Gustafson. Yeah.
yeah, like
Gustafson? Oh, that was Grant Austin.
Grant. Anyway,
I don't know.
Grant.
the Flash from the TV series should have been in it, particularly because
It's already happened.
Well, Ezra Miller's Flash was in
the show.
in the
Yeah.
show.
This is a connection that's already been made.
Yeah, it should have been reciprocated.
And
If
the
we're
thing
going to
is-
fan serve,
Right.
Fan
So this is where I'm losing points. Where I went from 5 to a 3
Yeah,
point.
I see. I see. Yeah.
So
Yeah, and there was an interview with Grant, and he talked about he wasn't even called about doing the movie.
I thought I read something where he said he did film something for it, or maybe it was cut at the last minute or something. Like he
Most
never actually
likely,
got to
like
it.
everything else. But I think to go along with him, like after watching the show and then watching the movie, like kind of like I said, like or even Josh said that Ezra Miller, his portrayal of Barry just wasn't.
and
Spot
that's why I think they didn't do it. They did not want to invite that comparison
Yeah,
in the movie.
I can see that.
but
Because
see,
it's
I
like,
don't-
could you imagine that kind of person being in charge of CSI for your police station? No.
not yet. I mean, he's still pretty young. I mean, he's still learning. He's still learning the things.
There's one more.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's talk about the last cameo.
So, which I actually did not hate.
I loved it.
I thought it was great, and in a weird way, spoilers again, red alert. Old George Clooney, I think, would be a better Batman than young
Alright,
George
just
Clooney.
Real quick, before we talk about this, okay. I was trying to remember, and I can't remember. Did they say that the Batman introduced at the end of this movie was going to be the new Batman?
so that was a Grace Randolph thing.
Okay.
And Grace Randolph sucks.
Okay, let's not get
That
hateful here.
is a one person opinion.
That's Josh. His opinion does not reflect the rest of us. So
It is 100% mine, though.
we
She
did.
sucks.
Yeah, we did
I don't
cover
know
that
her
story a few months ago. It came out where she said there will be a new Batman at the end of this movie that is an existing Batman, and she might have said it. Maybe it was just our insinuation.
Maybe we interpreted
might have
it
interpreted it.
incorrectly.
Anyway,
The
Possibly.
new Batman. Yeah.
and so we were trying to figure out which Batman actor she was referring to. We narrowed it down where it was not going to be.
None of us pegged
None of
who
us
it
said.
was.
None of us said Clooney, though.
I did.
No, did you?
I did.
You did?
I did.
We're gonna have to go back
Because we
and
knew
watch
it was
that
not
one.
going to be Val Kilmer, and we
Right.
knew it wasn't going to be Christian Bale, and so I was like, it had to be George Clooney. Anyway, beside
Right.
the point. So getting into this last scene in the movie, obviously, if you've seen it, you know that big shocker at the end is that instead of Ben Affleck stepping out of the limousine, it was actually George
It was
Clooney.
supposed to be Michael Keaton stepping out of this.
So they
Yes.
actually filmed 3 different versions of
Oh.
this scene.
Correct.
They filmed
So
the
you
one
can
with
see photos of Keaton.
Yeah, I've seen
in
the
that
photos.
scene.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
With
Yeah.
the same suit and everything.
They filmed one with
cars,
Ben
same
Affleck
suit.
too.
Yeah.
So there was a version with Ben Affleck, a version with George Clooney, and a version with Michael Keaton, and they kept changing which one it was going to be. And this one was not put in place until just a couple months ago.
So what Corey has just described in one scene is pretty much the big
How the
problem
entire
with this
movie was
movie.
made.
Yeah.
The meat and potatoes of the movie was pretty good. It's all the incidentals, all the tweaks which could have made it a spectacular movie. The movie changed hands so many times,
Yeah.
and Warner Brothers didn't know what they wanted to do so many times that it created all these nostalgia pieces and all these these what could have been phenomenal fan service. It just
didn't
ended up
stick.
muddied up a bit.
Yeah.
It
Just
and
didn't-
you could tell that it was some of these were just off kilter. And this is why it's a 3.75, why it's a 3. I mean, Corey, you loved it. That's fine. But I mean, to me, that's
Someone
that's
needed
why.
to.
It's like it could have been wonderful. It could have been like the movie to end all superhero movies. It was close, but too many hands were stirring the pot.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And Kevin Smith says that for months they were trying to get that last one. Apparently, it was written as Christian Bale was the one who gets out of the car.
Yeah, Kevin Smith has apparently gone on record to say this. So,
But for months, he just kept giving the same answer. I'm not coming back if Nolan's not involved.
yeah. So we could have had a fourth one. So I want to close the thread on George Clooney. Just how you guys felt about that inclusion.
I liked it.
So unfortunately, I knew the cameos going into it. I saw the leak because I can't help myself.
Yeah.
So I knew it was going to be George Clooney, but I wasn't quite sure what the context was going to be. So I was still pleased with what I saw, but I thought it was perfectly laid out to where it was such a big WTF moment where it played off perfectly to me. And if there were to be a sequel, which with the box office performance, which we'll get to in a second, not going to happen. Like, just there's no way
just
it's going
not.
to.
Nada.
Unless everybody buys it on disc, it's not going to.
The entire world population.
I like the scenario that it's set up for a potential whatever it would be with this Barry Allen and George Clooney being in it.
They were so close to almost doing a Back to the Future-esque ending.
Yeah.
Is it the end of the movie? Yes. Could you keep the story going from there? Yes. But again, they just barely just didn't. And like, I can't even wholly put my finger on it. Just something about it didn't say, but I liked it. I liked that cameo at the end.
Yeah, I loved it.
And I did not like George Clooney's Batman. I did not. But I also think he got a bad shakedown of being in the worst Batman movie.
Yeah.
He was a better Bruce Wayne than Batman.
That's what I've always said.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he was always, I mean, I was young when the Michael Keaton ones came out, so George Clooney was really the first one I remember. So maybe I just have a soft spot for him.
Sure, he was your first Batman.
I don't know. I thought this cameo worked perfectly.
I'm really ambivalent on it. Like, I wasn't upset, but I wasn't excited either. It's like, oh, that's a choice.
You know what? You know what I think it was? I think I liked it so much because I remember thinking there's no way they're going to actually do that cameo. And they did it.
And,
Yeah,
and of
I
all
assumed
the
all the
things that
leaks,
they could have had the gumption to do, they're like, no, get this. We're going to give on everything. We're going to make George Clooney be the Batman.
Yeah.
We're going to shove it down their throats. Henry Cavill? Nah.
Yeah.
Would have made it like it even better. He got out of the car, and then suddenly the DC universe turned into Ocean's 11. It was like, hey, Barry, we have a mission.
All right, so that was a long conversation about the cameos, but we kind of touched on a little bit of everything else that we want to talk about with the critique. So obviously, spoilers. You know, some of these cameos were spoiled in marketing for this movie, like Gal Gadot, I believe, was in some of the trailers for it.
I had no clue she was going to be in it.
Oh,
I had no clue. Now, I may have...
Yeah.
I think I vaguely recalled someone saying she was going to be in it. But then when she actually popped up, I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
She was the only big
there she
spoiler
is.
that I hadn't heard something about.
okay. Well, maybe. Anyway, but just recurring theme is that DC has done a horrible job of keeping the actual plot and surprises under wraps.
Yeah, they keep doing that.
And I think it's maybe going into our next point where they're trying to use those spoilers to build hype around the movie in their marketing.
You can tell they were desperate to find something to try to get people to go
Please
to this
come
movie.
see this movie.
Yeah,
please.
we have spent so much money on this movie. Please come see it.
And that's like selling 101. If you have to beg for the sale,
You're not going to get
you're
it.
not going to get it.
No.
Well, so that actually just goes into my point. I actually have a note here just to make sure I gurgitated these thoughts correctly, is that it had a lot of outside factors working against this movie, such as the Ezra Miller issues and everything like that. But all of the testing and research for this movie, all of the test screenings, all of the audience testing, all of the people that have, seen this movie, like Tom Cruise or whoever, everyone said it was going to be a big crowd pleaser, and yet no one's going to see it. People aren't liking it. So what happened?
I don't think people are not liking it. I think people are just not seeing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Because
I-
again,
like-
the user reviews were pretty much on par with us, which,
I mean, 70% is not bad.
no, that's literally an average movie rating.
Yeah.
Like, that is almost every movie on IMDb is between a 7 and a 7.2.
Right.
Like, that is literally an average. Technically, it's slightly
So,
above.
And
Yeah.
even if the movie was horrible, people are still not seeing it. That's the thing. It's like you could have a big weekend and still get poor reviews. It just didn't have a big weekend. Just nobody went to go see it.
Yeah.
I think it had three things working against it.
Okay.
number one, your biggest fan base, for better or worse, is the Snyder fan base.
Yeah.
Those are the ones who keep coming to the movies.
Right.
Even if it's just a dump on them, they keep coming to them. It got to the point where, especially once the leaks started hitting, they had no interest in this movie at all.
Yeah, the leaks were almost like a middle finger to Snyderverse and Snyderverse.
I was going to say, if you are a Snyder head,
yeah, it was like almost deliberate.
Well, speaking of the Snyder fans, it's also going into that they know that this is not leading anywhere because this universe is dead.
this is
That's
it.
fine
This
too,
is
but
the
give
end.
us a good
Yeah.
closure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Second one, you have got you've got all the Ezra Miller stuff. We don't have to get into what all that is.
Right.
I think at this point you know what it is. There are a lot of people. You see it all over the. I refuse to see this movie
Yeah,
because, especially in a culture where we have made canceling the thing to do, you got someone who literally tore up Hawaii is not being canceled. Like someone who's factually done pretty bad things, and for some reason we're just refusing
and there are other actors who have been canceled for less.
so much, just for tweeting the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes decades ago. Yeah. And so I think this was, for some reason, this was the first movie that actually got boycotted based on who was in it. It's just weird that this is the one that it happened with.
Unfortunate that it happened with this.
And then, I guess not weird. It's completely understandable. And then the third one, and this might rub a couple people here the wrong way, Keaton was not the right play. It just wasn't. I don't mean that Keaton wasn't a good Batman. I mean, you are banking on the wrong crowd. Because I am just barely old enough to remember Keaton as Batman. And most of your moviegoers nowadays
I see
are
what you're
going to
saying.
be 28 and under.
So you're not saying that Michael Keaton
I'm not saying
in the
Michael
movie
Keaton
was
did bad. No, Michael Keaton did great. He was one of my favorite parts
You're
about the
saying
movie.
that to use
you're
him
doing
as
a
a marketing
nostalgia
Too
play.
old of a piece of nostalgia.
Correct. It missed the audience that's actually willing to
And
go
I'm not
to the
saying
movie
you're
theater.
too old, Michael Keaton. I'm just saying the nostalgia is Michael Keaton.
No, they
So
actually
I was-
made his age part of the plot. And
You
it was
were
great.
So
Awesome,
if
Michael
they
Keaton.
wanted to use Michael Keaton's Batman or a Batman to play that marketing nostalgia pull, they should have used Christian Bale.
Yeah, but
Because
seeing
for
as
our
he's
age range, that would be the Batman.
correct, but seeing as he's refusing to,
Yeah.
they should have stuck to what was in the original comic,
Which was?
which would have been to have Jeffrey Dean Morgan be an angry, upset Batman that is willing to kill.
Freaking Negan as Batman.
So, and that was the original plan a decade ago when
was,
this movie
yeah.
was first announced. And when they announced that Keaton was going to be Batman, Jeffrey Dean Morgan even tweeted at Keaton, "Bro, you stole my gig." And so,
Did
Like-
not know that.
like he was straight up hired as Dr. Wayne with the intention of, because the plan was always going to be that the Flash movie was going to be Flashpoint,
Yeah.
that he would be
Thomas Wayne.
Thomas Wayne
Right.
Which he did play in
in the opening credits for Batman versus Superman.
Yes. So he was an established actor that played this role.
Oh.
Yeah, this is part
Oh.
of the plan that just fell apart when they let Zack Snyder go.
Oh.
Wow.
So that would have been the baller move.
We have a director, producer that had a plan for an overarching story over several movies.
Yep.
Do we do that anymore?
Nope.
No.
Clearly.
Right.
It's okay, though. Now he's at Netflix.
See, so
Rebel Moon.
my two things, I think it's two things. While you were talking, I was collecting with my thoughts.
No, it's fine.
Or like way deeper, and it's like business wise.
Okay.
And now that you brought up Michael Keaton, like business wise, they may or may not have done the thing where it's just like, okay, we could use Michael Keaton since Christian Bale doesn't want to do it, to actually bring in that older crowd just in case some people feel some type of way about Ezra Miller.
Okay.
But business wise, that's bad because, like you said, people going to the movies are
the
way
younger crowd.
way younger.
Ever since the pandemic, the crowd that has gone back to the movies has averaged 32 years and younger.
Yeah.
I'm not part of that.
I know, but
Yeah, me
you're the
either.
outlier.
Corey's right at the edge.
I was going to say, technically, this from here over is the outlier.
and you're right in that a lot of my friends who are my age have been absolutely stoked that Michael Keaton was in. But all my other
But
friends
they don't go
were-
to movies, do they?
Well,
Yeah.
no, they did. The ones
They go
I've
see
got
this
nerdy
movie?
friends. I've got nerdy friends.
Ah,
But my other friends who are younger, they're like, Michael
Yeah.
Keaton. I'm like, They said, well, he's not my Batman. I'm like, why is he not your Batman? Of course I know why, because they didn't grow up with him.
Yeah, it was a decade before I was
right.
conceived, bro. Yeah,
and also like right around the time this movie should have been out, Michael Keaton's probably done 4 or 5 different projects to come back into the mainstream. But like, again, that Batman wouldn't have been one of the things that people known him for.
Yeah, it would have been Birdman. It would have been the Vulture. What else was he in? The Other Guys, which I think was his. That was his renaissance.
That was his comeback.
Yeah, that was his comeback. Yeah, I was like,
do you know you're quoting TLC?
oh man, he's a treasure. But I mean, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
But yeah, like, and I guess one of the other one is like, it's real small, is that the whole marketing thing is just like Josh was saying, a lot of things could have been kept secret. That'd have been awesome.
Keep it safe.
Like for me, I wouldn't have even kept Supergirl a secret. And the fact that the studio decided to publicly let go of Henry Cavill wouldn't have been necessary if they weren't going to use him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you would have kept that just out of the public and then sought the movie out how it was, the rest of the movie might have been more entertaining to me.
Yeah. So you actually mentioned, is it Sasha Kelly?
Sasha Calle.
Kaye. Okay, I was putting the emphasis on the wrong one. She was great in this movie.
Yes.
We haven't talked about her.
She was amazing.
To me, everybody was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard some other people talking about her performance, and it was like, coming from the Snyderverse, you saw Henry Cavill being that dark, brooding Batman, and she kept that coming, being brooding, and it was like, I feel like she would whoop me.
Yeah. Well, but I've also heard like, oh well, she played it too somber, she played it too serious, which to me was akin, smile more.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like,
you'd be prettier.
I mean,
if you
you'd be pretty if you smiled more. I'm like, no, she played a superhero.
Not that I want to defend that, but that's how Henry Cavill played it too, and he got that same critique.
That is actually true.
Yeah. So,
all right.
It
just in this one case,
right? But it's more of an issue.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't want to defend that. I'm just saying it was so funny.
The add-on, like when
you're not
Justice
very
League,
hopeful.
Justice League came out, and people were like, "Oh, a woman superhero in Wonder Woman. That's cool. We've seen that before." And then she had her own movie, and then it killed, and it was like, "All right, well, y'all can just sit down."
Yeah.
But you know what? She smiled.
She's a few times.
Yeah. But
going
but
off
talking
rails.
right, but talking about the marketing,
Yeah.
and knowing who was going to be in what characters and whatever. I think that was the worst thing that Warner Brothers did and DC did, was they over marketed this production. We pretty much knew the entire story
Before we
went in, and I think that was the worst thing that they could have done. I think one of the best early on, we got the back-headed shot of Michael Keaton's Batman, and those of us who knew that was Michael Keaton, and they played a little music from Danny Elfman, and they should have left it there.
Exactly.
That should have been it.
Yep.
There should have been maybe a Superman chest, like the S, because that was pretty much the same.
Means hope.
All right. But we knew
there was no teasing.
There was no teasing. There was nothing new. There were no blown away moments.
Yeah.
Because they had over marketed everything, and I think it was almost like, why go? The story. So it was like, just wait for it to come out and see what you missed, because otherwise, why are you paying $10, $12, $15 in the theater for something you pretty much already know what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like Corey said, like how they were going to start off with Flashpoint. Just do that. Because, obviously they wanted... Well, Josh said, and I guess you reiterated.
Josh was right.
But, like, in the trailer, just show that. Because, obviously, in the trailers that they had shown, they wanted to be like, hey, Barry's sad. We want you to feel bad for Barry. But also, look at Superman and Batman. So that takes it away. So if you would have marketed like Spider-Man like that, like No Way Home, that's been like a whole Doctor Strange trailer with the other Strange and all the other characters in it. And I was like, why do I care about Spider-Man?
Right.
I'm glad you brought up Spider-Man and as far as teasing and stuff goes, because if you think back to No Way Home, obviously a big movie that had a bunch of nostalgic characters brought into it. And their trailers, up until like maybe even when the movie was out, the only bad guy they showed in the trailers was Doc Ock, and they teased Green Goblin.
Right. Yep.
But they never showed anything about Electro, nothing about Lizard, nothing about Sandman. They were not in the marketing whatsoever. Exactly. Obviously, Andrew and Toby were not in the marketing whatsoever
they tried
either.
Like hell to keep it out of the press.
Yes.
But they figured out Andrew Garfield was going to be
Thanks,
in it.
Brazil.
But
What?
no, I actually like to think they did it on purpose. If I was going to try to hype up a movie that had secret cameos in it, I wouldn't do a lick of advertising, and then I would go to one of these internet Twitter people and be like, hey, just so you know, Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are in this movie.
I guarantee that's what happened. Because there were leaks, obviously.
Yeah, and then it's just you don't officially do anything, but how many people went to see that movie just
Because
to
they knew.
see if it was going to have Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield in it?
Yeah,
Exactly.
so that was marketing done well.
Yeah.
So, getting into our box office, it's really the next thing. So you guys...
Here's the numbers.
obviously talking a lot about marketing and stuff and how this is all
numbers.
played out and how
I hate
people are not
math.
going to go see it. So in the first weekend of this movie, actually, you know what? Some projections for you.
Okay.
So the first number I'm going to give you is the number that they were trying to meet that would have greenlit a sequel. So they had actually an entire plan. I think they might have even actually had an entire script already written for a potential sequel.
Okay.
They wanted to make minimum at the box office, global box office, $700 million.
Did they make it?
Hold on now. I got two more numbers for you.
Okay. All right.
Now, just keeping in mind, $700 million, it's a lot, but for a superhero movie, a big budget
That is
superhero
very
movie,
doable.
that is doable.
Yeah.
The second number I'm going to give you is the projected worldwide box office. Actually, you know what? I'm going to say that one.
Okay.
So, the first weekend made just $55 million in the domestic box office, which, comparatively, was $12 million less than Black Adam,
I think that's
Ouch.
unfair.
which we know now was deemed a box office bomb.
Right.
So
Despite all the Rock's math.
yes. So despite everything, this somehow made $12 million less.
And
than-
had twice the budget
yeah.
of Black Adam, which is bad.
We're recording this during the second weekend, so we're not entirely sure what the final number is going to be, but the projected second weekend box office for this movie is $14 million.
Ouch.
Which is a potential 75% drop, which is massive.
Ooh.
So, now, the projected numbers for the global box office. The Flash is now projected to end its worldwide box office under $350 million, which would be less than the totals for Black Adam, Eternals, Black Widow, which was a pandemic movie,
I was going to say, didn't really even go to theaters.
Right.
Uncharted, and
Ouch.
now Warner Brothers is expected to lose $300 million on this movie as a result of the underwhelming response from fans.
I like your quote under this. Your little blurb. Say that about the anonymous.
Yeah,
veteran.
an anonymous.
Yeah, I want to hear that. Yeah, say that.
So an anonymous industry veteran has called the $55 million opening weekend box office for The Flash an unmitigated disaster.
Oof.
So okay, I want to say, based on the movie alone, that is unfair.
Wholeheartedly.
I
yeah.
think it should have done so much better. However, Warner Brothers, HBO, Max, you reap what you sow. And I'm sorry, this is your guys' fault for not knowing what the hell you're doing. And you're messing with stuff, and you're messing with the fans, and this is what happens.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, and I'm sorry the Flash movie had to suffer. Because it didn't deserve it. It was a good movie. And if you haven't gone to go see it, go see it. Go. In the theaters, go.
Right now.
Now.
So I just want to close this by, since I brought up Black Adam. So we dogged on Black Adam pretty hard, just with the whole Dwayne Johnson stuff and all the politics behind the scenes with what he did with Henry Cavill's everything.
Yeah.
So we dogged on that pretty bad. But now, in hindsight, we're like, everyone's like, maybe Dwayne Johnson was right. We should just let him take the reins.
I don't know about that.
I'm still not going to say that. But I mean, he'll
Well, no. The argument is
Yeah.
he actually gave the fans what they wanted.
right, but yes, but I think he would have gone too far the other way.
I was gonna say, I think long term it wouldn't have been good.
Maybe, yeah.
yeah.
I think he
whatever.
got into the game by trying to give fans what they wanted.
Well, yeah, that's another thing too, is that if you give the fans what they want all the time, then what they're going to be excited for.
Right. I mean, a good example is The Last Jedi. That gave the fans nothing what they wanted.
Probably my favorite of the sequel.
It was an
Not a single
exceptional
thing.
movie. It was an exceptional movie, and I thought it was the strongest of the three of them.
Yes. I
Yes.
agree wholeheartedly with that.
I think it turned the entire expectations on his head, and I think it was a phenomenal movie.
It was the only original thing in that sequel trilogy.
So I'm like, you don't have to give fans what they want to give a really good movie. And regardless of how divided you are on The Last Jedi, it made money.
Made a ton of money.
Yeah.
And beyond like movies, if you give the people the right to vote on something that they'd like, just know there's a boat out there called Bodie Big Boat Face.
That's right.
Because people were
Voted for
allowed
it,
to
yeah.
vote on it.
This is why we're a republic and not a democracy. We're a democratic republic.
Bodie McBoat Face.
We're a representative democracy.
So I just want to say one last thing. And maybe it's the obvious thing in the room, the elephant in the room. The Flash is an iconic character in comic book history.
Yes.
Wait, what? What?
The
Who?
Flash.
I'm kidding.
This is,
Whoa! Wait.
you can consider him maybe one of DC's biggest characters.
Yes.
Yes.
And
And it's longest running.
and this is his first live action movie, which I think we can all agree was, for the most part, done really well. So it's kind of sad that this big debut for him in live action not doing too well.
Yeah.
So
Unfair.
it is unfair. I think we can all agree on that, despite our varying scores and critiques on the movie.
No. It's about right.
Okay, aside from Christian, I think we can all agree it's,
Can we
it's,
like
it's
turn the
unfair.
camera here? Are we allowed to do that?
It's unfair. So, all of that to say, I think it's a movie worth watching if you can kind of put some differences aside.
I will buy it.
Ignore
on-
the CGI.
Yes.
Which I still say was not even that bad.
It's not that bad. Look past some of the weirdness with the cameos. And if you have problems with Ezra, okay, maybe you shouldn't watch it. But
Yeah.
all that to say, I loved it. You guys thought it was okay. So this is our postmortem.
I loved it. I'm just
You
giving it a
loved it?
lower row.
Okay.
Lower row.
Loved
lower
it, but
rate.
I dumped it. All right.
He liked
3.75.
it. He liked it, but he wouldn't like it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. I didn't like. I don't want to be in a relationship with
He
it.
casually
I just-
liked it.
Right.
They go out for coffee sometime. Right.
All right. Any final thoughts? Any final thoughts?
I pretty much said all I want to say. I was pretty emphatic about what I wanted to say. And again, go see it.
All right.
Seriously, go enjoy it.
I mean, I'll probably watch it in another 10 years.
Wow. Just long enough for it to get made again.
Yeah.
Oh, it would have been remade twice by then.
Josh, anything?
It was a sad ending
Oh, yeah.
to what could have been in another universe
Yeah.
quite possibly one of the coolest cinematic universes we ever had. And from that point of view, it's disappointing.
Truth.
But like we've all said, we had fun watching it. It's worth seeing. Whether or not you want to go pay money to see it in the theater, that's entirely up to you. You're not going to save this film. It's buried.
It's dead.
I need a second I need a prequel.
So-
go see it.
So
A sequel. I need a sequel. That's right.
So, I mean, at this point, I'm putting money on it. It will be on HBO Max and streaming.
And TBS.
Max.
But excuse me, yeah, Max and streaming before July is out. I guarantee.
And
it.
TBS shortly after
guaranteed.
that.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
So no, it's worth seeing. Have fun. Don't take it too seriously, and it'll be a lot more fun. But yeah,
All right. Thank you for stopping by. This has been our post-mortem geek dive into The Flash and its performance at the box office. So, thank you for tuning in, and don't forget to check out our other videos on our YouTube channel. If you're not sure where it is, it's youtube.com/@eatsleepnerd. We post weekly podcast episodes every Tuesday. Plus, we are doing currently a weekly episode recap and reaction for Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 2 and Marvel's Secret Invasion. So, Secret Invasion every Thursday and Strange New Worlds every Friday.
That's right. Two different series.
Like
we're doing
Star
right
Trek.
now, right? And Star Trek.
Secret
Star
Invasion.
Trek. Right?
And we have some more movie reviews coming up, but stay tuned to our channel for that. In the meantime, stay nerdy.